Blues Radio International. It's Jesse and Audrey taking you to Brussels, Belgium for our friend Ghalia. Hi, Ghalia.
Hey guys, how y'all doing today?
Very good.
Great, because we're with you, and we're looking forward to hearing what you're going to start out with today.
Well, I'm gonna play 2 songs out of my brand new album, One Woman Band, and here we go. We have to make and if you don't wanna come with me, then here's the house key. One day, baby, just read what you saw. I'm getting down south, baby, gonna have to let you go. Baby, it's better for us, and maybe we can catch a bus. Catch a train and leave it so late, baby. One day, baby, just gonna read what you saw. I'm heading down south, baby. I'm gonna have to let you go. Two original songs. One is called Meet You in My Dreams and the other one, Reap What You Sow.
That was great.
Hello. Yes.
Hello.
All right.
It's been a while. When we last spoke to you, it's been quite a time, and you've done a lot of traveling. What's happened since we last talked?
Correct. So it feels like a lifetime ago. Well, I started the Blues and Roll virtual sessions first at the beginning of March. So playing as a one-woman band and then inviting musicians, friends to join me on this virtual gig. And so I had Mr. Mike Welsh, Watermelon Slim, Johnny Bergen, Jeremiah Johnson, and so amazing, talented musician friends. Every week, someone different. So, well, I had to learn also. I had to make some video edits. So I became a Final Cut and iMovie. I learned also Pro Tools and that kind of stuff. So I've been working on everything. I've been really busy. And so after that, so that was between March and July. And then I decided to go for 1 month train trip, an Amtrak trip. And I started to write. The idea was to write all the songs for a new album. So I called Thomas Roof from Roof Records and wondered, like I say, hey, I've been playing as a one-woman band. I sent him some videos and stuff and recordings. He liked it, and I told him like how it had a good feedback. I went to Mississippi many times in between too for short trips where I tried that setup and it worked fine. I'm not a drummer and I'm playing with my feet, so I'm doing what I can do, and I'm not, one woman band, one self person band for like 20 years doing that, but since March. And so I offered Thomas Roof to maybe do an album like that, since, you know, like when you do an album, you about to tour with that album. And so far I couldn't, you know, with the complicated times right now, I just couldn't see myself touring with a band. And so I still want to tour, and just, you know, even if I'm hitchhiking and taking trains and just rides anywhere. So one person is enough. Is enough for a show, and it's easy to travel just with myself and me and myself. And so that was the plan. And he said he was in. And so I started writing that album on that month train trip through. I went through a lot of places. And should I keep talking? Because I have so many
Yes, I would like to hear about this, because
Yes, please.
a lot of us have taken train rides, but very few of us have taken a train ride across the United States the way you did, and with all the stops. And what was it like for you traveling by train? This is a very curious time to be traveling anywhere, and you were going to places, sometimes places you'd never been. What was all this like?
So, you know, I played it safe, basically, like being on a train by myself, as a, you know, it's just me and myself with a mask on, sometimes for 30 hours. But it is the way it is. And at least I was able to travel, but without really being exposed. And also I wasn't seeing much people neither. So I was sitting there. There's a wagon called the observation room. And so you can see everything, because it's all windows, right? If you've been in an Amtrak train, you know, there's that, it's like the dining room. And so from Louisiana to California, I was able to first see the beautiful swamps, you know, in Louisiana, Lake Charles and everything, Lafayette, and then past Texas. And so it's funny, like how Texas got it all. You know, you go from the swamps to the cities to the desert. It's impressive. I mean, I went to Texas before, but never realized how diverse is Texas. And so, and also people, you know, people jumping on the train and getting out, everybody is really different. I feel like nobody here in Europe realized that every state is like a different country. And for the people, for the vegetation, for the mentality, for everything. And so I was writing all the colors. I would see all the landscapes and just the feels I would have crossing those landscapes. And so after that, after Texas, what is it? New Mexico? Or no, first, yeah, I think it's New Mexico. And then I went to Arizona. And then, or was it the opposite? I can't recall. But like, so that was mountains and deserts and very impressive. I've never been before in those. I've never seen that before. So I was really impressed and I was inspired. I did a stop in Benson, Arizona. Just go for an adventure that I really didn't like and I shouldn't have done. And so I was actually, anyway, long story short, it wasn't a good experience as a young woman traveling by herself. So I'm like, all right, I got to go back on that train. I got to find a train and go back to Tucson. And I went to Tucson. But what I got from that bad experience, I got a song, you know, and with a little fantasy, I wrote like that kind of song called Espiritu Papago. That says, you know, what you do when you're in trouble in the desert, you're lost by yourself. And so, you know, I just coded the story with some fantasy about like being stuck maybe for days, weeks in the desert. And your only hope is to find that train, but you don't see anything. I mean, you're just asking for a sign. And so I was asking the Indian American spirits. You know, there's a tribe called the Papago. They're around, you know, North Arizona. So it's just like this. It's a whole song about being maybe lost and a little trippy from the dry heat, and so that's the song. It talks about just waiting for a sign and be saved, and that train comes and you can see like a glow inside and some howling train, and you just got to jump on that train thanks to the Espiritu Papago who maybe helped me. Anyway, so that was a song. See, number one there. And then I went to Los Angeles, where I visited Hollywood for the first time. I saw a fellow musician from my previous album, my two previous albums, Let the Demons Out and Mississippi Blend. My friend called Smokehouse Brown. So we ate tacos, went to the beach and we jammed late night, drinking beers. Then I took that train called the Coast Light train, I think. The Coast, it's really like the train from LA to, it goes to Boston, not Boston, Boston? No, Washington. No, that side. Seattle, my bad, Seattle. And so I was on that train and wrote other stuff. And, sometimes you have like songs that sit in your scratch book for forever. And finally I had time to, be lonely and just get to it and spend some time on, finding like forgotten lines I can just develop or just write everything I would see and everything I would just get inspiration for. And then from there, I went to San Francisco, and I had a beautiful time. I visited, the old hippie neighborhood, and before that, I said I went to Tucson. Tucson was beautiful too. Like I was climbing some hills and mountains and stuff, the cactus everywhere. And then I went to Colorado, across Salt Lake City and the Wyoming. I saw wild horses. And so all that, being with the guitar, there was nobody really on the train. Maybe 2 or 3 person per wagon, sometimes more. But at some point I had the wagon just for myself for actually almost 20 hours. So I started playing a show on the train and record some stuff. And then the mountains of Colorado, and then the city lights of Chicago, and the lake. I rode by the lake, I rode by the ocean, I rode in the mountains. It was just there's nothing better, like no better inspiration than finding yourself by yourself with all these amazing landscapes. And then I went back to Memphis, St. Louis first, where I met with I know so many stories, right? With some friends over there, Johnny Bergen and Paul Newhouse, who's got the Blue Lotus studio. And so I did 2 virtual sessions there with the musician in real this time. So, they were virtual played, but we were together recording that, and then kept writing song, went to Memphis, went to Mississippi, where I stayed quite long because it's like home too. And I had all my friends there. I was staying at the Shakopin and playing some shows and riding by the shacks, by the river. That's my other favorite place to ride, is right there by the Sunflower River in Mississippi. And so I came back to New Orleans with all that, experience and beautiful times and songs. I mean, pretty much everything was written by then when I came back in the beginning of September, and I started practicing all those songs on the music with the drum sets. I was just so excited to come back home and have a drum set and put the melodies I had in my head into the whole setup to hear how it sounds as music all together. And so figured, okay, where am I going to put a little bit of hi-hat? What should I do? With the drum, the kick drum and snare drum, and everything worked out. And I practiced days and nights and finished the songs. And sometimes okay, is this song going to go with that melody or maybe this lyrics with that? And it was like a puzzle. And then I practiced all of that, and I was ready to go record the new album in Memphis at the Royal Studios. I know, long story.
Well, I don't think it's actually long enough for the journey that you went on. I think that you have more to tell us. We know you had a bad experience, and I'm sure, because people love to hear about that it would be interesting. However, my question for you is, what, besides finding yourself by yourself and doing all of these things independently and finding your muse in the landscapes, what was your favorite part about the trip? Do you have just one that you could pinpoint?
I mean, the whole experience was beautiful, and it depends if you want so that trouble I had led me to Tucson, and I wasn't going to stop in Tucson. Actually, I wanted to go to Phoenix, Arizona, but I found myself there. It was so hot. It was like 110 degrees. And I'm used to the swampy heat, which actually I like. I like it better than the dry heat because I was just melting and dizzy. But
Yes.
I still went. I climbed a beautiful mount there. I don't really recall what it was, but I had just a beautiful time. The whole trip, honestly, it's hard to say. Colorado, I had some friends from New Orleans joining me, and we did like a little girl road trip. So just singing, like imagine Death Proof without all the bad scenes, just the good scenes. And so that's pretty much what it was. And, climbing, I just rediscovered the sportive Ghalia. Does that make sense? I still, I was jumping and climbing those mountains and stuff. That was great. And just, I could have spent way more times than a month and sometimes 30 hours sitting on a train because it's some kind of meditation. I'm so not relaxed, I'm really the opposite of relaxed and taking the time for things. I'm like a bull, or lion, just go for things all the time. I move quick. I move so quick, I leave my little toe between every furniture, that kind of quick. And so sometimes it's just nice to sit back and just sit and think and find yourself. And I needed that. And so I think that's also why my songs, they all talk about something. There's just so much to talk about, especially right now, in this world and what's happening. I just don't understand people that keep singing about the same stuff when there is so much to say. And even if it's blues music, it doesn't necessarily have to be, okay, it's a 1-4-5, but whatever is the feel you put into it. And maybe, a couple of chords that's, different, but it's not even that. It's just the way you play it and when you feel it. Well, lyrics is the same. I think there's so much to say, and finally finding the time to spend some time with myself, to have a 30 days date with myself. I was just able to get all of that from my brain to the paper, and to the paper to the songs. So Chicago was great. If you want another great moment, Chicago was beautiful because I met so many people over there and played with. I met just so many musicians like Willie Buck, Lindsay Alexander, Casey Lee, who helped me to book some gigs, and I met Chris Kane. I recorded a little virtual session with Chris Kane. He was a great human and musician, and we went out for some beers late night and then he was just able to tell me all those stories. I could spend the whole night listening to that guy and his, stories about Otis Rush and all the guys that he was on stage with, B.B. King, and it was great. That's for me. That's what I want to hear, and that's what I want to do through my travels, is to learn new licks on guitar, just listen to some stories from people that live the blues, not just on like me on maybe records and YouTube and things like that. It's just like people that. I saw B.B. King, but I didn't live the moment with him, and things like that, and then went back to Mississippi where I just, kept just writing songs and being by myself and see all my friends there. So always good, beautiful experience, and I feel like maybe I should write a book. That's a kind of a feeling I have because. That's only like 1 month, but my life has been like that for the last 6 years, traveling through the United States, coming back to Europe, touring in Europe, and going back and forth, and different projects like Mississippi Blend was just so good. And we were lucky to do a whole tour right before the pandemic started. And that was beautiful. But man, I wished we could have done more of that too. But now that's it. I'm on the next, I keep rolling and I'm on the next adventure already.
And that's one thing that you seem to roll with it quite well. And I have a question for you about your songwriting, because your music, it's definitely rooted in blues. It's definitely got a lot of blues influences. It's got a lot of punk influences. I'm curious, because when I listen to your music, you have adopted a vocal sound of all your own. you've adopted a lyric, a way of constructing your lyrics that seems to be all your own, while still pulling from classic blues traditions. However, I don't hear a lot of the common revived lyrics that other new blues artists seem to adopt. And I'm curious why that is. Do you find that you get more satisfaction out of creating your own blues lyrics than reusing the classical lyrics that seem to get passed around over and over?
I really have. It all depends the songs, but there's so many ways to do it. Like I said before, sometimes you write the melody first, sometimes you write the lyrics first. I find a lot of inspiration in other blues songs, but see, like it's just like you said, I have so many different influences. I was really into rhythm and blues and boogie, and I still am. Like I don't, like I don't really listen to what I play. But like for example, I wrote a song called "I Can't Escape," and it's got it's like punk meets hill country music, so hill country blues. So and punk's got almost nothing to do, even though like I consider like Ira Burnside and Junior Kimber being two punks, and good ones. And but so it all came from different musical influences. And in the middle of that, like the whole song started because I listened to a lot of Little Willie John. Like he's one of my mentors. I just love his voice. That I listen to the guy all day actually. Same records over and over. And he said one time, he said, something about having a switch on his mind. He wished there was a switch on his mind. I'm like, well, me too. And I thought that was a great song. And so from that one sentence of his song, I developed a whole song about that. And, like I said, I never quit moving and just projects on projects and travels on travels. Like you can hear in my song called Last Minute Packer, traveling all the time. And so it's just sometimes, you're trying to sleep and your brain just don't shut up, and just like sometimes you wish like there was just a switch on off. Thank you. I just want to sleep. Good night. And no, my brain just go crazy. And sometimes it's songs, sometimes it's just thoughts, and it's kind of freaking me out sometimes, but I guess that's what artists, we are like that. So that's an example. Another example, I had the same thing with Laverne Baker. She's got a song called Jim Daddy. You know that song, right? And so she's got another one called Jim Daddy Got Married. And at some point, she says in that song, she's like, well, loving me, baby, is a full-time job. And I agree with that too. And so I had a song about that in my head, but then I had the line and I had that was it. And that's it. Maybe I'm needing, my sentimental and personal life. And so that was just a funny way to express it. So that, Bad Apple was a song about education, how maybe education comes by example. And if you teach your kids how to be just bad, rotten apples, that's who they will be. And, you got to teach your kids how not to be racist, how to study, understand what happened in the history. History is here for something. It's just not to reproduce the mistakes and just move forward in the good way. So, if you teach your kids how to be good persons, well, eventually they will be. But if you don't, well, they probably won't. Other stuff like that. Meet Me in My Dreams is a song about how when you love someone and that someone is gone and dead, never come back, you cannot create new moments with that person no more. And if you dream about them, if they come and visit you in your dreams, well, actually, that's a certain way to make them alive again and create a new moment. It can be good or bad, it doesn't matter, but it's a new moment you spend with them. And I I love that, you know, even if it's bad, if it's good, it doesn't matter. You have something new. You lived with that person who's dead and that you know you can't. So that's another song. That's another theme.
Well, Mississippi Blend, it seems like that came and went. You put that out. It was fantastic. You did your tour. You got cut short by the coronavirus. You did this tour. You wrote all these amazing songs. So what's next?
What's next? I just try to do my best to bring some new content. Does that make sense? For people to see something new always, and not just the same live stream in your living room. You know, I've been doing it at studios, at the Brussels TV, in Paris. I went to Paris in a beautiful venue. I put a lot of work into it, and I know people are kind of, you know, getting slightly tired of being home and watching a screen, and I understand them. But just so I keep pushing a lot and putting a lot of energy and work into my live performances. I hope that people still can appreciate it, because so far that's pretty much everything we have for the most part of it.
Well, you've been incredibly resilient in dealing with this very difficult situation. A lot of people have been sort of knocked off the tracks, and you actually got on the tracks and did something quite impressive in the process, and opened yourself to some new creativity. And that's really an inspiration for all of us. Could you play a few more songs for us?
That's right. We should play some music. Okay.
We love Ghalia's music.
Here we go. So here's a song about actually not doing great and feeling kind of lonely. It's a song that I recorded in Memphis at the World Studios on my brand new album, One Woman Band, and I had the great pleasure to invite Monster Mike Walsh on this song. Little Thoughts, a brand new song too. Find another song. Let me see for a second.
If you played Gypsy, I wouldn't be mad.
Oh, Gypsy is another guitar, I mean, standard. I would have, but
I love that song.
you like it.
Oh yeah, so
it is,
dreamy.
It is my other guitar in open D. I play a slide on it, and this is a standard.
It looks like it. That's why I thought that it was that. Or is it your black guitar that you play that song on?
Well, I don't know. I have my European guitars, and it sounds crazy. And I have the US guitars, and usually the slide guitars, they don't look as clean as this. She's a good girl. She plays great. The slide guitars are always a little messy and from the 60s or 50s. Like this one is a 57 Framus guitar, which is a Bavarian guitar. But this is the reliable guitar.
There you go. Yeah.
Let you down. You know?
Old reliable.
I've actually owned that guitar for 10 years now. So it is the guitar I've owned for the longest time. How about a new song from the new album called, I talked about that song earlier, it's called Loving Me is a Full-Time Job.
All right.
24 hours a day, I wanna love my baby 7 days a week. One morning kiss on my cheek, 1 year on my side. When the sun hits the tide, and I want you around. When the sun goes down, loving me, baby.
Ghalia, you got to play one more for us. That is just awesome. That is just fantastic. Something from your new album, if that guitar will allow it.
Oh yeah. So all the songs I played today were from the new album, and I'll play another one from the new album. All right. So here's a song from my brand new album too, one woman band. Bad Apple.
That is so cool.
Harmonics on that are beautiful, and the other thing that really is spectacular, Ghalia, is that we have so much cigar box guitar out there that all sounds the same, and you actually do something a little bit different, bring something extra to it, which is very nice.
What I'd like to know from you, Ghalia, is where did you get your musical education?
Um, it's a good question. I like that one. Actually, so I've always, I think I've always sung my entire life as being a kid and everything. But and then I picked a guitar. I was 11. I think my best friend was just got a guitar. I was very interested and I wanted to pick one too. And I instead of learning a song right away, I tried to write my own song. And that sounds really silly because I didn't even know how to play it. I would play with my thumb. And I would play some like bass line with my thumb like this and just go like this and invent a melody. And I thought I was I just recalled that recently. So really, I played like that my entire life until I went to United States. And I mean, not with my thumb, but kind of poorly. And then I went to United States and I really learned from their experiences and the people I met. And that's one thing I think it's beautiful. For example, I was in Mississippi and I learned from a guy like Sean Apple by watching him, by talking with him. He's a friend. He showed me some licks. He told me what were his inspirations, and so he showed me some tricks and licks. And then Jimmy Duck Holmes at in Bentonia at the Blue Front Cafe, same stuff. He's like, let me show you the Bentonia style. And through that, I feel very lucky to learn the music just like that, because them learned the music from Jack Owens, who himself learned it from Skip James, and Skip James, right? I love Skip James too. That was actually my introduction to blues music and J.B. Lenore. And so from that I'm like, well, that's the real deal. That's how you learn music, with feels. And like same like playing some grooves here on the drums. I've listened to Cedric. We played a record together. So Mississippi Blend, I just listened to that feel he's got when he plays, for example, Meet You Down the Road. And I learned that swampy groove he's got. And I'm trying to emulate that with my feet. So whatever I can do. But just that swampy feel where like the snare is not going to hit. It's just going to hit. It hits like nice and greasy, and so I hit on the hi-hat at the same time as I have like a little bump on the snare, and so it's just a groove. And from listening people and just listening the right artist, I've learned a lot, and that's where I guess I got my musical education. Talk about singing, I don't know, I guess it's from listening to records, Ruth Brown, Laverne Baker, Sister Rosetta Tharpe, Big Maybelle, Aretha Franklin, just all the ladies. I've always been fascinated by their voice, and I'm not trying to imitate or anything. I just that's what I'm fed on. Also, I mean, that's what I eat, right? And then since sometimes it's like guitar players, and you can get stuck on a guitar lick and play it a lot, maybe too much. Well, I think vocals is kind of the same. Sometimes you tend to do the same vocal licks, and I do too. But for example, Watermelon Slim's got so many licks in his voice. It's so beautiful. Like I love his voice. Lucius Pillar, same thing. When you go to Mississippi and meet those guys in Clarksdale, I've seen them touring the world. So anyway, I learned a lot from other people, and I'm not the YouTube kind of student. This is just music sheets. I just get bored and lazy, and I don't do it. But then when someone show me something, if I just go at shows, I've seen hours and hours of shows, and so yeah.
And what do you take away mostly when you watch a live show? What's the thing that you focus on the most? Who do you watch the most?
What kind of live show?
I mean, a blues show, a punk show, a metal show, a rock show, EDM, whatever it is. What is the thing that you find yourself drawn to?
Oh, I've watched it all. I just, it's by, I guess well, vocals are very important, obviously, to me. But then guitars, I feel like guitars, maybe I'm a freak when I'm at a show, because I really look at you like that and just watch your hands and try to. And I think from just watching people like that and just memorize some stuff, I learned a lot. And sometimes it goes right into your brain. And one day you just, oh, that was it, And so I've had a lot of that. But otherwise, just I'm fascinated by the horns. So I'll watch a lot of that too. Upright bass. I just dig the bass, as a lot of people know. I really, I mean, without a bass, it's just. And I'm saying that as a one-woman band, but for actually, usually here today, I'm just playing on a small setup because. But usually, the one-woman setup is based on 3 amps. And there's a bass amp, there's a clean amp with a very warm sounding, and then there's a crunchy amp for the raw edge, right? So I really have the whole spectrum from the bass to the medium and high notes and crunch. And so I have clean and crunch at the same time. And so I try, if you listen to a song like Last Minute Packer or Love Him Is a Full-Time Job, if you listen on a good PA, on good speakers, you can hear the bass, and it goes boom, 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 and that comes from the kick drum answering to the roots of the roots of the chords. So the first hit is 1, and then no, this is 1, and then this is 2, and anyway, it's very complementary, and then you almost feel like there is a bass into that, and that's the thing I really worked on at the studios, is to have that bassy sound, but at the same time that very alive sounding from the crunchy amp and the medium too. So it was a whole process to produce that record and have all the instruments in one woman band.
All your compositions created on your own, or do you collaborate mostly with other musicians when you create your songs?
I do both. I always write the lyrics, and sometimes it happens that I was walking with Dean Zucchero, and we were just like talking how I was always kind of late when packing and on tour. I'm always, I shouldn't say that, but kind of the last one to join the van. And so, because I have all my suitcases and everything is open right before leaving the hotel room, so I'm like putting everything in there and just packing last minute. That's just, I've been like that my whole life. But then also, if you know my records, I always like hide another theme in my songs, especially when it's a little playful and maybe dirty. So that's Last Minute Packer. I'm actually surprised that of all the reviews, I had nobody mentioned that yet. So I guess I'm doing a good job at hiding some dirty lyrics and in a regular song and lyrics. So Last Minute Packer was about that too. Yeah.
Seemingly innocent, but
right. It's just get a the fine line. There's a fine line. I did the same in I guess that song called Press That Trigger was very, actually I wasn't that good at hiding things by then, but now I'm a little better. It's less obvious, right?
Well, the album definitely has a live feel to it because of the organic elements. And it's very artful the way that you set everything up to be that way. It's intentionally crunchy. It's intentionally loud. It's intentionally fast and slow. And I think that the world is not sure what they're in for when they get to sit in front of you and watch you play, because I know I personally can't wait.
Well, thank you. I can't wait neither. And yeah, and so that crunch, just another thing for guitar nerds. I didn't put any pedals, it's just the crunch comes from the amp, and like an old amp, if you crank it up, it'll naturally be distorted. Like, if you listen to old Magic Sam recordings, or who else? Elmore James, Hound Dog Taylor. This is what you get. It's like there's no pedal, kind of distortion, 1,000 distortion and pedal board like this. I have none of that. And I do have a tube screamer from the 70s that I really love, but I didn't use it, unfortunately. I didn't need to. So that's it. I just meant to say that little thing. But thanks everybody thanks you both for having me today and doing this again almost 1 year later. It's been a long but interesting year.
Yes, it feels like 10 years. It feels like 5 minutes. It's the weirdest combination of feelings as far as how time has gone by. And it feels
everybody feels the same.
It feels like you've done so much though. Like I feel like, wow, Ghalia's accomplished a lot in such a short amount of time. I mean, how does it feel for you?
I've done a lot. I'm not tired, but sometimes I feel it. Maybe I need a little vacation in Miami.
Well, I think that that's a great idea, and we hope to maybe see you pass through here. That'll be nice.
Yeah, I'll definitely be there soon. So maybe we can cross paths. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Ghalia, for joining us, and you truly bring a breath of musical fresh air to the world, and we thank you very much for joining us, and we can't wait to do this again in a few months and see how your life has changed and what you've created during the next interim period.
Right. Thanks, Jesse. Thanks, Audrey. It's always nice to have a little chat with y'all and show people some new stuff and new music and motivation for the rest of the pandemic.
Beautifully said.
Okay. Well, we love you. Take care. Travel safely. And we look forward to seeing you in person, hopefully this year.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
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 Join us for a weekly blues inoculation on Blues Radio International.